Hey guys,
Hey, what's up, guys?
this is Michelle,
And this is Mark.
and we haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, it has been. Are you signing?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Hey, make sure you're in here. Trying to make sure we got everybody.
We can't move. We fit into her phone only if we don't move.
Yes.
All right. So if we
So we're on Insta and we're on Facebook.
exactly. So how are you guys? It's been a while. I
Yeah.
don't remember when September.
I don't know.
We're not gonna worry about it.
Yeah. So
Excuse us if we're coughing and clearing our throats. I made hot sauce before we started the live.
Yeah.
And Michelle rolled her eyes at me.
yeah,
So-
well, and coughed at him. And
well, I coughed too.
tickled throat and
Yeah. The pepper oils got in the air, so
yeah.
nobody cried or anything, but we did cough. So
The kitties are okay.
they're okay because they're way down on the floor.
So, like our podcasters haven't heard from us for a really long time, so we should probably update a little bit.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
moved to St. Louis.
Yeah. Now I think everybody knows that because we've done a couple of lives
Maybe.
to say that we moved.
Yeah, but I didn't put them on the podcast.
Okay. Oh, okay. I see. So for the podcasters, because you can't see what's going on, and in case you haven't heard, we have moved to St. Louis, and.
And then COVID happened.
Right. COVID happened literally a month after I got here. They closed
2
it down.
months after I did.
Yeah.
So I came before him.
Yeah. She was here.
It's been a very stressful 2020 from the very beginning.
Yeah. And especially, well, I don't know for both of us because I packed up the whole house and brought it, and I had some friends who helped and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
it was stressful having to plan that all out because that is the most planning and physical work I've done because I had to work and then come home and pack and clean that I've ever done since ever.
Ever.
And
He wouldn't have been
fortunately,
able to do it with autism.
exactly. And having a newly minted NT brain, although I'd say it's been about 2 years, so it's not quite as newly minted as before, but that really helped. It was some of the biggest stress I've ever had, but I made it through it, and I'm stronger. So that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That is true. So, but to update from there, I got here, and we unpacked the house and everything, and didn't have a job for 6 months or 6 weeks.
Well, the
Excuse me.
day after he got here, I got really sick. And, I think I had COVID then.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like a grand meeting.
No,
a grand
no.
meeting. We were without each other from January 6th to
February 23rd.
23rd.
Third. Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was 21st. 22nd.
22nd, 23rd. It was a Saturday, whatever it was. But so anyway, I got here, and since I didn't have a job, I was going to transfer, but there were no jobs at Whole Foods to transfer to up here. And so I didn't get any interviews. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll have to see what I can do when I get up there. So I did. 6 weeks later, I got a job at the closest Whole Foods to us. It's only about a mile, almost 2 miles away. And it's a small store, great employees. Everyone likes me. Where I kind of had issues at my other store and I made people nervous and scared, these people, they're just not that way. They respect me and they love me for the amount of work I do, which I'm loving that. So, I feel like I fit in finally. And so, but on the autism, my healing from autism front, lots has changed.
So much.
Yep.
And so we've been through growing pains this year as well as COVID. I'm a musician and music was completely shut down and still is. So I haven't had work. So Mark's been carrying that load.
I have, and then that load has also helped me work through old traumas, like working 2 jobs and thinking that that's all I could ever do was just work 2 jobs. Well, we're going to talk about the emotional side of healing tonight. We've talked about that before in different things, but in different podcasts / lives. But what we're going to talk about tonight is a little more general, individual topics that you're going to have to help your kid or your loved one who's healing from autism through, because as they heal, all of this stuff is going to come out. And what we mean by all of this stuff is, let's just start with one really important thing.
So I will ask Mark. I feel rejected is one of the learned behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give some examples of why you had to heal from feeling rejected?
Okay. I see this a lot in autistic adults. Not all, but the vast majority of them. And what I mean by that is nobody likes me. Nobody accepts me for who I am, right? And I felt the exact same way. And those hot chilies again.
The hot chilies.
And I felt the exact same way. And so I had to do work in a lot of areas to get over that. Because what I see, people not accepting me for how I was. I won't say who I was, because I really don't think they could see who I was, because the autism was obscuring it.
Well, and you didn't even know who you were.
Exactly, because I had another condition that went along with the autism called alexithymia, for those of you who don't know, and that was the inability to know what my own emotions were, or know how I felt about things, or even how I felt about me. And apparently, I was about as severe with that condition, alexithymia, as a person could be. So, feeling rejected, I always felt rejected by everyone. I felt less rejected by her. I won't say it was an absolute, because there were some people who would talk to me, and I figured, oh, they must like me somewhat if they're willing to talk to me. You know what I mean?
Hi, Jasmina.
Jasmina! And we're back. And so, feeling rejected is something that, while I know almost the vast majority of you are healing kids, your own kids from autism, or grandkids, or that kind of thing, this will only come up later. But you'll hear a lot of autistic adults, I don't understand why people don't like me. Well, I said that so often. And me, with my autism, I couldn't see that people liked me. Because I couldn't understand, my brain did not recognize the behaviors of people who liked me when I was autistic. Now, that has seriously changed. It's done a 180. I won't say a 360 because I wound that back where I started.
Yeah.
So it's definitely done a 180. Now I can see in people's faces whether they like me or whether they don't, or whether they're just uncomfortable with me, which is different than liking or disliking, or whether they're comfortable with me, that kind of thing. And what's interesting is, Krista, hey Krista.
Oh, hi, Krista.
Cool.
Thanks, Jasmina.
Yeah.
We're glad to be here. It took a while for us to get to this point again.
It did, with more working through emotional stuff.
We've been working so hard.
You know, and I'll get to the biggest one I did this week, and this one I did this week was the biggest one I think I've ever had to do. It made the most change. But feeling rejected, because your kids just, when you're autistic, I think most of us just automatically feel rejected because people don't include us in things. For instance, here's a good example, and I know other autistic adults deal with this, and autistic kids probably do too. You walk up to a group of your peers, and nobody stops to recognize that you're there. It's like being invisible. I don't know if this is the same invisibility that African Americans have faced in the past, and I guess probably still do in some ways, but you are very invisible. So often I would walk up to a group of people and nobody would even recognize, would be aware that I was there. They wouldn't stop or say anything or anything else. And I chalked that up to being autistic and not being able to interact in a way that my peers understood. in other words, I didn't get their language. You know, I'm explaining much better than I ever have on stuff. My brain has come on more in this past 10 months that I've been here.
Yes.
And I'm much wittier than I have ever been in my life.
Oh, stop.
Okay. And reply to things quicker than ever.
Yes.
Which is interesting because when I was autistic, my brain was just frozen up most of the time with indecision and ambiguity and whatever else. But as far as rejection goes, since we're talking about that real quick, that's something that as your child or loved one comes out of it, kid seems kind of a rude word to me, but anyway.
To me, it's just informal.
All right. Too informal?
No.
Okay. So
unless someone's offended, and then oh well.
All right.
Sorry.
Right. But as your kid or your loved one comes out of it, you're going to deal with behaviors on their part that show that they feel rejected because they won't approach you. They won't approach groups of people that they know. They won't ask for help. They won't ask for things that they need because their whole past as an autistic person has been pretty much rejection. I mean, not intentionally on other people's part, more of a subconscious thing, but it still happens.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And because, oh, well, you know, that kid's kind of awkward and we don't really know how to handle him, so let's not include him in this. I mean, you know, now as a 52-year-old adult, my birthday was a week ago today, or yesterday, but now as a 52-year-old adult, I realize that what a lot of us autistic adults, not me so much anymore, in fact, hardly much anymore, but what most autistic adults complain about is just, we'll say, and I'm not going to say normal, I'm going to stop using that word. I'm going to use the word healthy. What healthier individuals, those are just the behavior of individuals who have healthier brains. And, you know, birds of a feather flock together. There's a reason that aphorism has come up in our culture. That's just what people do. And if you don't fit in, you don't fit in. It's not your fault. It's not their fault. It's just what is. But if autism... It is
very damaging.
It is damaging. And because of that, and if autism is the one thing that's keeping you from living the life you want, then why live with it anymore? Right? Autism is just ill health. That's all it is. It's just poor health. Now, I know a lot of autistic adults don't agree with that. Fine. Great. You know, enjoy your life. Because it's your right to. But to me, seeing children be recovered from autism by their parents or their other loved ones, that is what's most important.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then when I saw other people, I'm like, well, why can't I? I could. You know what? We actually recovered me, and then found out there was a whole community out there, people who are already doing it. I was like, well, damn. Hey, I found my tribe, so to speak. You know, you hear a lot of autistic adults talk about, we found our tribe.
You could say your feather.
Feather? Why not? I found my feather fellows. There you go. But anyway, so let's move on to another one.
I'm limiting myself.
Okay.
So what we're doing is making points of emotional body behaviors, beliefs that have to change when you get out of autism because they have been formed through autism.
Right. Now let me say this real quick. NTs have a lot of these same issues.
Yes.
They do. But I think with an autistic person, these issues are more severe.
I would say the neural network is much more built around these. There's not.
In other words, you think it influences personality and behavior more than it might in an NT?
Yeah, it's not as an autistic person doesn't have
flexibility in their neural net?
The different amounts of things. I don't know why I can't think of the word I want.
Well, that's all right. What you're trying to say is you don't feel like an autistic person has the same neurological resources that an NT has.
That's for sure. And these are like where where you were living from.
Yes,
You know,
I
I had a lot more possibility in my brain.
right. Well,
And
resources.
that's what I'm trying to say.
Possibilities. There you go. You had options. It's you as an NT. You had options. You might have felt all this way.
Yes.
But
you
realize,
can move into something else.
right. Well, and I think emotion does that. You know, because having mine actually come on from being what was basically 100% off has been an amazing process. Because a friend of mine at work, her name is Angelina. I know she likes me, right? I know my coworkers like me because when I get in there, they're like, "Mark, we have a problem. Can you fix it?" You know, and apparently I'm a natural born leader, according to one of my
learning
coworkers.
all this stuff.
Yeah, and she told me, "You're doing too much work. You need to stop because they're not going to pay you for that work." And she's right. I had to stop and think about it. You know, so as far as limiting myself. I'll tell you one thing you learn as an autistic person. Now, you hear this a lot as an NT, true, I'm sure, but as an autistic person, you know what? Here's the difference I really think between an autistic person's brain dealing with these issues and a neurotypical person's brain dealing with these issues, is autistic people take these literally.
Yes.
They take them to heart immediately, may not immediately, but I think it takes less time for this to sink into an autistic person's heart and change and change them. Limiting. You get told you can't do that. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do it that way. No, you can't. No, you're not able to do that. You're not old enough. Now, we all hear that. You're not old enough. You can't do that.
But not to the extreme.
But autism keeps you socially incompetent. It keeps you, now, incompetent, not with a connotation of you're failing at that because you choose to not learn better. But autism, because of its impairments in learning, you have to have explicit learning 100% of the time. And she knows because she's been a teacher of autistic kids for more than 25 years. Explicit learning, many more hours of repetition just to have small gains. Towards an NT brain, as long as it's functioning better, can learn in leaps and bounds. And because I've heard all her stories about autistic students and neurotypical students and this kind of thing. And neurotypical students, when their brains work better,
well, they can retain a concept from one musician here, one song to the next one.
Right.
But I have to reteach it really often, reteach that concept for many more songs for an autistic brain.
Right. And so you get limited mainly because of the autism, but probably just as much as hearing from NTs in your life, oh, no, you can't do that. No, you're not able to do that. No, I don't think you can handle that. No, that's probably not for you.
So you start limiting yourself.
Exactly.
I can't do that.
That's my whole point.
Yeah.
You hear it so often, and your autism, you may even know you have autism at that point, but you hear it so often, and you hear no. I bet you hear no a lot more as an autistic person than you do an NT. I don't know that for sure, but I can tell you, you hear no, and no, I don't think that's going to be possible for you so often that you just automatically, after a certain time, start limiting what you think you can do. Mm-hmm. And that starts closing you down, slowly but surely on the inside. The doors close, the windows close, you hear them lock, you hear them snap shut, and garage doors close.
And it's been a process for you to get all that open.
Exactly. I've had to open up all those emotional doors, blocked doors, and back doors, and front doors, and garage doors, and attic doors, and whatever else, cellar doors, basements, outside flights of stairs, that kind of stuff, one by one over the past 5, 6 years, 7 years, because I was actually dealing with a lot of the emotional stuff even before I knew I had autism and even before I knew I could heal from it. So as far as like rejection and limiting, it becomes severe, I think, for most autistic adults and kids. But I think if you recover a kid soon enough, they don't have to deal with most of it. But you may have to deal with it anyway because you just hear it so often when you're autistic.
So we're going to move on to I'm being betrayed.
Okay, that's a little more subtle, I think, because, well, no. Here's one I had to work on recently. In fact, I'm going to give you the one that I worked on a couple days back as well.
Keep yourself in this video here.
Oh, yeah, my tea is in the way. Being betrayed. What you don't realize, and this doesn't go just for autistic people, because I know she felt this way too. When you have a chronic illness, after so many years and decades of having that chronic illness, you start questioning whether your body is betraying you or not.
Definitely.
And you get angry at yourself, and you get angry at your surroundings, and you get angry at your health, because you're like, I didn't ask for this. And so you start to feel betrayed by your brain. You start to feel betrayed by your lack of energy, by your body in general, because it's just not working the way you need it to.
So, I mean, that definitely could go for autoimmune.
It could go for any chronic illness.
That's been my experience too.
Exactly. And so, and I'm going to explain a story from her past, just to give you a better idea. You got diagnosed with Lyme, what, 2 years after you think you contracted it?
Yes.
So 1990, she thinks she got it in 88, got bit by a tick in 88. And
well, I never found a tick.
No,
which is interesting.
But you expect. Well, yeah, but it's the hot sauce again. But 90, she got diagnosed with it. 1990. Okay. So as she her mom was sick with Lyme disease, Michelle was sick with Lyme disease, and her sister was sick with Lyme disease. So all three women in the house were sick with Lyme disease. You know who spent more time outside than any of the three of them? Her dad. Her dad was always outside, yet he never got it.
Well,
but anyway,
I have to say I was outside a lot that summer.
Well, all right. So she got diagnosed with it, and as they got sicker and sicker, because they were told, well, there's no cure for it. And Mr.
Well, we went. It's okay. We went to. I had antibiotics for 3 years, and my mom got IV antibiotics. So I mean, she's real bad still.
Mm-hmm.
But
and so as they got sicker and sicker, see, they were churchgoers because her dad was a pastor. My dad was a pastor too, although we didn't go to the same church.
They got underbelly.
Oh yeah, you got cat gut. So there was a Baptist church that they went to, and they just got sicker and sicker and couldn't be at church on Sundays, right? So finally,
my dad was still preaching at a small church.
He was, and
but then he finally had to quit.
Well, you go ahead and.
Well, I'm just going to add this.
Okay.
That he had to quit and take care of us. He had 3 family members sick. So go ahead.
Yeah, and so that being the case, as time went on and they got sicker, the people at the church that they went to, some of the church leadership came to them and said, "Hey guys, we're not sure why you quit church," and although they may have known.
Well, at first they were really helpful and brought meals and things.
Mm-hmm.
But as time progressed, my dad would start getting people like at Walmart come up to him and say, "You're going to hell because you quit preaching." Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and basically they just told him not to come back to the church anymore.
Well, they didn't really say that, but we didn't want to go back because
there
was no support.
But think about that, no support. They withdrew their support at your absolute direst moment.
Yeah.
Right? And so when that happens, you start to realize that people around
betrayed,
you, your friends and family and church family and all that, betrayed. That's the whole point here.
Thank you. I didn't know your point.
Yes.
Well, look, there's a kitty right there.
There is a kitty right there.
Can't see it on Instagram.
Where's that? Oh. Hey, man. But anyway, so being betrayed. You can be betrayed by your loved ones and your family and friends. And that's what happened. I even think you lost some friends in school because you were so sick and you just couldn't keep in the groups anymore. So when that happens, you quickly learn that you seriously start to think that there's something fundamentally wrong with you.
Yes.
All right? Now, that's important because when you start questioning the fundamental beingness of you, that's when you undermine absolutely everything else in your life. That's when you start to toss out any other thing that's good that you think is in your life.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Now, when you're autistic, you learn that literally. You take that literally, you take it as a literal meaning, and you go, and remember, there's extremes. You know, it's 100% one thing or 100% another. So you 100% think, I am thoroughly no good. I am thoroughly no good. Stop that. And so, on, what's today? Friday, Wednesday? Tuesday night, this past Tuesday night, it finally came to me that one of my biggest emotional blocks that I still had was believing that there was something fundamentally wrong with me and that I was no good at all. Because, and the reason, and I've been working on this particular subject, and I'll say this now, for 15 years. That sounds like Jesus Worcester. and private joke. Sorry,
hi, Marlo.
guys. Marlo! And so, because back in 2005, I was, it was 37, and I was, and I realized I was working for Borders Books in Atlanta, and I realized that I didn't think of myself highly enough to want to do something just for me. Now, that might sound self-centered, but let's just call it self-preservation, not self-centeredness, right? I was more than happy to work myself to death and to the bone for anyone except me. Now, other people may have this issue. I imagine they're people with healthier brains or / neurotypicals who think, who feel that way about themselves. I mean, you know, that has to be the case. But because I was autistic, I took that literally. So at 37, I started questioning, why am I willing to work myself to death for someone else but not me?
And this has been an obsessive thought for 15 years.
It has. It has. And I had to work through a lot of things before I could get to this layer. See, we're talking about healing the emotional body or the emotional layer. Mm-hmm. And that is going to be required. I'm sure it's going to be required even of some of the youngest kids.
Yeah. Because,
especially if they're of young school age, because they've already run into, you're a horrible person, we don't like you because you're you, we don't include people like you, and they have already formed an idea as an autistic kid that they are fundamentally unlikable, unworthy, and unwanted. So this past Wednesday night, finally, after 15 years of working through this, what I realized is I had an incredibly strong belief that there was something fundamentally wrong with who I was. It wasn't logical, it didn't make any sense. But a lot of beliefs that we carry around about ourselves aren't logical and don't make sense. But we have them, we carry them nevertheless, and they're burned in there, right?
Yes.
And so, yes, Marlo.
Marlo says that's deep and most difficult.
Yes, but you know what? What I did, here's what I did to get rid of this belief. I sat down and I forgave myself of the pain and for believing that that was true of me. And you know what? The next morning when I woke up, it was gone.
15 years.
Sometimes that's how hard you have to work. And don't look at that and freak out. Just realize that the answer will come to you. It may be 15 years down the road, but when it comes to you, you know the universe is working on your behalf, even if it's 15 years later.
But the cool thing is you guys have found us and we can help you.
Exactly. And because we'll hear in what you say, oh, no, see, you have a strong belief that you don't like yourself or that you're fundamentally unworthy. You know, the beliefs aren't logical. It's just that we got programmed with them. All of us got programmed with beliefs about ourselves that were negative and unworthy and this kind of stuff that didn't respect ourselves as we grew up. We have to forgive ourselves of them so we can move on. So move on.
Okay, so I'm being critical of myself.
Okay. See, why would you be critical of yourself? Because you feel you're fundamentally worth criticizing. In other words, you feel unworthy of positive support. You think there's something fundamentally wrong with you, so therefore you don't deserve praise. Right?
And this is a good time to slide in there. You can't just get rid of the belief. You have to replace the belief. So you want to go from what's negative to what's positive. So now you would say, instead of I'm being critical, this is all, you have to think about all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I support myself would be the opposite.
Right. And once you forgive yourself of the belief that you don't want, it's much easier to replace it.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, it is. Because then all of a sudden your brain is giving you all the reasons that you can support yourself. That has happened to me over the past 2 days.
Yeah, cool. It's really crazy how you will have lived with something for instance, 15 years, and all of a sudden it finally goes. And it's never there again. It's just the craziest experience, reprogramming your brain.
Yes. And a lot of, I think in probably 75% of the instances, once you get rid of the belief you don't want, what happens is you're free of that, and there isn't much or any reprogramming to be done.
Well, then it's really easy, of course, to say, I support myself.
Yes, because I've been able to talk positively about, see, I no longer judge people.
That's amazing.
That's a huge thing for me.
Huge.
Because I was incredibly judgmental about people. And bitterly so. Very negatively so. And I think a lot of autistic adults are that way because that's how they feel inside. And the only way they can feel good, the only way I can feel good, was to judge other people and bring them down to my level in my head.
Jasmina says, the universe has always got your back. The hardest part is the belief.
Yeah, you're right.
It is absolutely the hardest part.
Because after you get rid of that, then it's all easy.
Part of the hard part is you think it's you. You don't realize the belief is just something, a piece of programming.
Okay, that's an important point.
Okay, say it.
That's an
say
important
it better
point.
than I did.
You have to separate yourself from the idea that the belief is you. Because if you identify with the belief and you think that that's who I am, then you will never heal it. Was it Eckhart Tolle? Because I had just read, we were talking about this last week. A guy named Eckhart Tolle, he wrote the book The Power of Now, and probably some other books too. German guy, but he's kind of a mystic / New Age type guy. And he said that when you identify with the pain, you never see it as something that is healable.
Yeah, that's posted on my page.
Yeah, and until you separate from the idea that you are your pain, you will never be rid of it. That is a paraphrase, but that's pretty close to what he said. And so that's why I hear a lot of autistic adults, we are our autism. Okay, I see why you say that.
Yes.
You
definitely see it.
Yeah, because you've taken all these beliefs literally, and so therefore you think you are a sum total of all of those beliefs. But fortunately, at some point, I said, no, I can't possibly be my autism.
Yeah.
I have to be more than that.
That's the beginning of healing.
Yes. And that's the beginning of any kind of healing.
Any kind of, yeah.
You have to realize, well, this pain really isn't me. So if it isn't me, what is it? And what can I do to get rid of it? And that's for any illness that that we suffer. Because, I've never heard cancer patients go, I am my cancer. This might be a controversial statement, but maybe autism isn't painful enough so that people don't identify with it.
It's a good question.
I mean, so it was painful enough for me. Maybe it just depends on the person, but for me, it was painful. I did not want to live with it. And I have met some folks some adults on the spectrum who don't want to live with their autism. One of the ladies that's on here right now watching us, her boyfriend, he's on the spectrum, but he's working himself right off of it.
In fact, she says Totally is my hero.
Yeah, Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah.
That's who she's talking about. But anyway, should we go on?
Okay, the next one is I'm not being heard. That's huge.
Oh, looks like hard. I'm like, okay.
Well, it's my handwriting.
It is. I'm not being heard. You know what? NTs deal with this one too. They really do. But I so often see autistic adults. Listen to us autistic adults. Listen to us. And you could learn. I've had autistic adults tell me, listen to us, you could learn. I'm like, what about autism? I don't think so. I mean, I'll learn about your autism, but you're not going to teach me anything about my autism. So, I mean, if you're telling me that you can teach me generally about autism, I don't need you to do that. I need an expert to do that. Now, so being heard, yeah, that never happens. Why? Because you always sound like a know-it-all. Not all autistic adults. Imagine all autistic adults don't sound like know-it-alls, but I did.
You did.
Yeah.
But I think what this is really saying is, for instance, you joining that group of people who are talking.
What you're talking about. See, I'm taking it as people hearing you and listening to what you have to say.
Yes.
What you're talking about is being recognized.
Being recognized.
Well, recognized as an individual person.
Yeah.
Okay, well, see, and that's the thing. I mean, you know what it is? I think, okay, I'm going to come at this a different way.
All right.
I'm going to think outside of the box.
Sounds
I'm going
good.
to think so far outside of the box that the autistic folks who think they're thinking outside of the box are still going to be out in left field. Okay, now let me back that up.
Yeah, let's back that up.
Not being heard. What happens, at least what happened to me, because I really can't talk about any other experiences with other people's experience with autism. What happened to me is that my alexithymia really kept me from identifying my own emotions. So in other words, it kept me from figuring out who I was. Now, I couldn't figure out how I was going to react in a certain situation. I didn't know if I would react positively or negatively. Most of the time I reacted negatively, depending on what the situation was, but rarely did I act positively. That being the case with the alexithymia, if I didn't know who I was, how was I going to project who I was to another group of people?
Right.
To other people. I mean,
especially if you think of this as being a matrix, and we're projections anyway, and you don't have the emotion to project.
Right.
It can be invisible.
And so that if I couldn't see the traits, the personality traits, so to speak, that made me up. I mean, I knew I was an honest person, but you know why I was an honest person? Because as an autistic person, I thought that honesty was the best policy at all times. But now that I've come out of my autism, I realize that what it is it's not so much about honesty as it is about sincerity. I think people mix up honesty and sincerity. Genuineness. I think what people say is be honest. What they're really saying is be genuine.
Probably so.
Because,
thinking.
And so if I couldn't see my own personality, how was I going to show that personality to others? You can't. I mean, you can't teach what you don't know. And so if you don't know you can't teach that or, show that. And so being heard, being recognized, that would be the reason why. Because if you don't know you, especially if you think that, as most autistic adults seem to, that I've encountered, I am autism. Really? That's all you are? You're just made up of the symptoms of autism? Because you have different likes and dislikes than this person with autism. So, really, I think you're just missing your personality trait. They don't even see their own personality traits. And so, if they can't see who they are, they can't connect with someone else who's like them or not like them. In fact, that's a good point. Because if you know who you are, you're going to know how you feel about certain people. And you're going to know if you are able to connect with certain people. Me, I didn't know if people liked me or not. I remember Michelle once coming with me to one of my jobs, and I saw one of my coworkers, and I said hi to her, and she said hi back. Michelle goes, "Boy, she doesn't like you." And I remember going, "She doesn't?" Because I couldn't tell. Now I can tell. Now I can tell in a heartbeat. I can read a person now. In fact, what was it? Oh, I told one of my coworkers. She's a manager in one of the departments at the store. I saw a look on her face, and I could tell she didn't particularly like working with one of her coworkers. And I said, "Oh, so you're not a fan, huh?" She goes, "You could tell that?" I said, "Yeah, very much so." She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, "Why be sorry? You know, it's just who you are. It's not like I'm going to go tell that person." But I saw that immediately.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Go.
So we're talking about these emotions, these beliefs that have to be worked on coming out of autism. Can you give an example of still having the belief I'm not being heard while you have healed? So you've already healed from autism, but you still have this belief.
Oh.
Because we've talked many times about you still having the neuronet for autism, even though you've healed. And so now we have discovered that all of these things were part of that.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I see what you.
So I'm asking you, can you give an example of a time when you felt like you weren't being heard after you had healed? That.
And what I think you seem to be saying is this: can you give an example of a time when your neural net didn't match up with your healing?
Yeah.
If you healed this far, why would you still have a neural net that wasn't healed?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I think it was. So, yes. Although this didn't so much happen on the medical medium diet that we talk about, but when we were doing the GAPS diet. This has turned into 2 podcasts lives, but you haven't seen us in a while, so we're going to give you the pleasure of our company for much longer. But when we first got married, I didn't know whether she loved me or not, or even liked me. I couldn't tell, right? We got into that conversation, God knows how many times. No, stop really.
Billions.
Right, and we're still talking about it.
No, we're not.
We're actually not.
Nope.
But that's the whole point of this story. And so I couldn't tell that she liked me and loved me, whatever you want to call it. I thought they were the same pretty much.
Yes.
And they're actually not. And because I couldn't make the distinction between those either.
Yeah.
So 2015 and 2016, still doing the GAPS diet. We went through a period of about a year, I think from spring of 2015 till the middle of 2016, summer of 2016, where I slowly came on to how much she liked me. And first, what would happen is, see, when I was autistic and we first got married, she would want to spend so much time with me. And I was just like, like that's too much. I felt crowded.
I was called needy.
Yes, and I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm good now.
Yes, and because that's what forgiveness does.
Mm-hmm.
But so she always wanted to spend time with me. That was too much for me, right? And so I wound up calling her needy quite a bit, not realizing that she wanted to spend time with me because she loved me and liked me. And so 2015, 2016. I started to see that she would get happy when I was around. I started seeing that in her face because that was some of the first times that I started seeing emotion in people's faces, around their eyes and their cheeks and their mouths and that kind of thing. And I started to go, okay, I'm seeing that. Well, we would get into arguments about her wanting to spend time, but then I realized, okay, wait a minute. if I'm healing, and I knew, but I mean, because we've been working on it about 2 years at this point, I thought, well, this must be new emotions coming online. I must be recognizing more, right? And I was, because she said, no, I just want to spend time with you. Oh, okay. Well, when I saw her getting excited about my presence, then I was like, oh, well, this is okay. Hey, wait a minute. She likes me. I thought, okay.
How many years into the marriage was that?
21.
21 years.
21.
It took him 21 years to know that I liked him.
Yeah. And I should, knew and could see it.
Could see it.
You know.
It's at a different level now.
Well, but I wouldn't know unless I saw it. Right? And so then the rest of that year up until about the summer of 2016, about 14, 15 months later, more and more came on. I could see more and more. She'd get excited. Then I would smile and I would get happy because, oh, cool, that she likes me. There was an intensity that increased when we got close to each other. And I'm not just talking about hugging close, but like 4 or 5 feet away.
Getting our auras joined.
Exactly. And so, because and what I'm talking about here, I have seen this happen in kids with mothers who were trying to heal their kids from autism. Because all of a sudden the mother sees their kid come on more and more and more, and then the kid goes, Mom, I love you. And then mom is dead. Because her child on the spectrum has never said that. Mom, I love you, I like you. Mom. Sometimes they've never even said mom.
Yeah.
That's horrible. And I mean, for the mom,
right.
You know, the kid's just like, oh, there's somebody in my life when you're autistic. You know, and really for me, that's the way it was. When I was autistic, oh, there's people in my life.
And you said they were cardboard cutouts.
That's what they felt like, you know. And there's a fight going on back there.
It's all right.
But anyway, so when I see kids coming out of autism and their parents, because their parents are healing them, and then they come on and they hug their moms for the first time or their dads for the first time, those parents are absolutely convinced that their kids have healed from autism. And they're not wrong. Because if kids are doing that, and then I saw the parallel in my own life with my own marriage 21 years after we got married, then there is something to healing and recovering from autism.
So what does this have to do with being heard?
Being heard. Because once you realize that you're affecting somebody else in a positive way, in other words, when you see a mirror in that other person, you realize, oh, wait a minute, then I must be recognized by them. They must be noticing me, otherwise they wouldn't change when I come around. And in fact, my definition of reality has changed. I don't think I had much of one before, but now when my definition of reality is the emotion that reality prompts in you.
Say that another way.
In other words, it's real only when I feel it.
Okay. Now, I love the direction that you've gone with this. My initial question was there a time when the neuronet got in the way of your healing?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Just bring it around.
Well, that sounds different than what you were asking.
Well,
but in other, getting in the way of healing or didn't match up with the healing?
Didn't match up.
Okay, all right. See, that's what you were asking. Well, yes, because I had healed. I'd been working on this for 2 years in spring of 2015, and so I still had in my mind that she didn't really like/love me. It wasn't an active thing. Oh, she hates me. It wasn't that, because that's an entirely different belief. But so my neural net was still what's the word? Lukewarm on the idea of whether she liked or loved me, right? And that's happened a lot since I've healed. My neural net my brain has had to catch up with reality. The beliefs have had to catch up. That example is after that year between 2015 and 2016. By the end of by the middle of 2016, that summer, I realized she loved me.
So that changed that belief?
That changed the belief. That changed because beliefs are neurological networks in your head. And when you get rid of a belief by forgiveness and EFT and everything else, you can change that neural net overnight. Mm-hmm. Literally. That's happened so many times to me and to her. And then you'll wake up the next morning going, holy crap, you mean I thought that for all this time?
And I have a perfect thing for that.
Go.
The next one is I'm a victim. Okay, now let's talk about the guy at work.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
First of all, I'm a victim is part of being sick. You know,
well, it is because you feel victimized by your illness. You feel victimized by people who don't understand you or your illness. You feel victimized by family, by coworkers, by society, by the world. Why am I this way? I'm only sick. I am this way because I'm sick. Okay, a victim. I told you a little bit ago I was an extremely judgmental person, and I was. I kept it to myself as much as possible, and I only aired it.
You didn't keep it from me.
No, well, that's what I was getting ready to say.
Well, I have to get in here every once in a while.
Well, get in there. And so she would hear it a lot, right? And we would get into arguments, you know, don't be that way. And then she'd be positive. Oh, and I hate that. And then I'd be like, you don't have to correct me, you know. And so,
but he was messing with my emotional balance.
Well, exactly. You know, well, but see, and that's the thing. The woman who hired me at the Whole Foods in Oklahoma City, we asked her to write a small excerpt about how I changed over the years. And you know, one of the biggest things she said was, he has become a much more cheerful, open, and compassionate person. That was amazing to me. And so being a victim. All right, again, I was a judgmental person, right? So here at this new store here in St. Louis, there was a guy that came in twice a day. Big dude. Bald-headed white guy, sunglasses. He always wore sunglasses. And he stalked through the store, you know, taking long steps, lunging through the store, right? And first time I encountered this guy, I couldn't help but snicker. Because I was just like, oh, brother, what's with this dude wearing sunglasses in the store? I had this strong belief that people who wore sunglasses in stores were sick morons who needed help. And
let it all fly.
They were absolutely thoroughly messed up, and they were hiding behind those glasses.
Yeah, that's just a really small taste of Mark's language.
And so that belief about people in sunglasses hiding behind them and being completely messed up, while in some cases it may be true, maybe not in all, but that's what I thought of this guy, right? So the second time he saw me, the first time I saw him, I snickered because I was just like, seriously, man? And don't hold back, Mark. Yeah, Jasmine says, she's laughing, says, don't hold back. I tell you what, this is holding back compared to what it used to be. And but the first time I saw him, I snickered at him, and I'm sure he knew it, right? Sure he knew it, because he was walking right past me when I did. And I've become incredibly bold now, and sometimes to the point of causing myself trouble.
You're killing Jasmina.
Am I killing you? All right, you're dying here too. You're killing me, Smalls. And so the second time I saw him, he came down the same aisle, and he bumps me pretty hard, body checks me. I'm like,
with the buggy or with
himself? No, with himself.
Oh.
And so I'm like, yeah, okay, if it's going to be this way, right? So this went on, not him body checking me every time, but me having that attitude, and he'd come in the store twice a day, 5 days a week, right? And so I got to the point to where I was like, all right, I know he's coming in, so I'm gonna give him attitude. And so I did. Didn't say anything to him. I never said a word to him. Didn't even say hi to the guy. But I just glared, you know. Well, one day I'm working in front of a cooler, and I turn around with an empty box, And as I turn around, it hits him right in the chest. Well, where I was standing was a very narrow bottleneck area. So it was difficult for anybody to get through, let alone one person to get through with the box, let alone two people. So I was annoyed, visibly annoyed, because why couldn't you see that this was a bottleneck, too small for you to get through, you idiot? And so he went off about his business, I went off about my business. Well, about 5-6 minutes later, his eyes and my eyes meet all the way across the store. He comes over to me and he takes his sunglasses and puts them on top of his head, and I was just like rolling my eyes visibly in his face. And he says, next time that happens, I'm going to do something about it. And I looked at him square in the eye and said, you can do something about it now. I said, I'll even go get you the manager so you can do something about it. I said, next time, every time you come in here, I said, you're in my way. Stay out of it, I told him. And
it's pretty bold, Mark.
Well, and this guy was bigger than me. And which should have made me give pause, but at the same time, I was so angry. I'm like, come on, man. Pulling your sunglasses? What are you trying to do? Awe me with your coolness? Who are you, Joe Cool? And so...
I just want to remind you that we're in the I'm a victim thing.
Yes.
Okay.
But
I'm sure it'll come around.
I always have these long, drawn-out stories, but they come to a head finally. A bald head in this case. And so he turned around and he said, don't do it again. And so I went off about my business, and he left the store. And that was the last time he was going to be in the store that day. So I thought, well, in case he complains, I'm going to go talk to one of the managers and let him know. So I did. I explained the situation. And the manager I talked to, he goes, yeah, I don't even say hi to that guy. The guy's bizarre, he said. He said, so do yourself a favor, do us a favor, avoid him, stay away from him. I said, okay, no problem. And so I did. The next day, he came into the store, and I encountered him. Didn't say anything to him. He didn't say anything to me. But I still hadn't yet worked on that judgmental belief, right? So after I encountered him the next day, I went home, and I thought, okay, I'm going to have to do something about this. So
because the fundamental, we think that when we have a belief, it shows up in your life. Externally.
It does. That's because it does.
So that's why we work on what Mark's about to say.
So I sat down and I forgave myself for being so judgmental about people wearing sunglasses in buildings. Right?
Did it have anything to do with you being a victim as well?
Well, I'm still getting that. And so I forgave myself for that, and I worked through it. And I did EFT on it and everything else, tapping for some of these folks. And so the next day, I went to work, and earlier in the afternoon, the time that guy came in, I'm looking around. He didn't come in. I thought, okay, all right, well, maybe he's just decided not to come in today, or maybe this is his day off or something. Who knows? So about 5:30, when he normally came in the second time, I was like, well, I don't see him. I have not seen that guy since I forgave myself for that judgmental belief. Now, the moral of this story is exactly what Michelle was asking me about. I victimized myself. That guy actually appeared in my life out of the quantum ether, if you want to talk about it like that, because I had an incredibly strong belief and judgment that people who wore sunglasses in buildings were morons.
That's pretty specific.
And when I forgave myself of that belief and let it go and got rid of the emotions behind it and everything else, I have never seen that guy in the store at all. At all. If he comes in the morning, I don't know about it. But at the same time, I doubt seriously that he does. The guy has been gone. It's been 4 or 5 months now.
And this is why we bring to you this list of emotional beliefs that need to be gotten rid of, because it'll change your external world.
This belief, you had thought it was a minor belief. Oh, it's just a judgment. It's just a judgmental belief. Well, it was minor, but it was a very strongly held belief. And getting rid of it literally changed my external reality, because your reality is based on your beliefs. So if you feel like you're a victim, you're going to be.
Yep.
If you feel like you're rejected, you're going to be. If you feel like you are unworthy and unwanted, you will be unworthy and you will be unwanted. You change those beliefs because it will change your reality. That has happened more times to me than I can count.
Especially the last few months that we've been here.
And so, anyway, we've got a lot more.
There's a couple more. I'm feeling abandoned and I'm not emotionally available.
Right. Well.
So those are the other two.
So the whole point is here, we victimize ourselves by our own negative beliefs. We really do. That actually literally happens. As the story I just told you. See, there are other stories in my life too, like that. But that's just the most recent one that I can remember.
And it was really outstanding.
It really was outstanding. I have not seen that guy since, and it's been 4 or 5 months. It was the beginning of the summer, middle of the summer. So that is how important dealing with beliefs are. Whether you're autistic or non-autistic or much healthier than that or much sicker than that or whatever, deal with your beliefs, because a lot of times your beliefs were formed by the experiences that you lived through. But at the same time, after a while, your experiences are formed by the beliefs that you hold.
Some of the beliefs keep you sick.
Believing that you can't heal, or believing that something is genetic. I've heard this so often. Oh, it's genetic. My alcoholism is genetic. There may be a component of it is, but all of it is not. Because if there are people who have become non-alcoholics or who have broken the addiction to alcohol, then it can't be entirely genetic. I hear this about autism all the time. Oh, it's genetic. You're born that way. Okay. I was born that way too, if that's what you want to believe. But I am definitely not autistic now.
I think we can all see that.
Yes. So, anyway, but as far as feeling abandoned, well, if you have alexithymia, you don't know that there are people there supporting you. You can't see it. And I think a lot of autistic people have alexithymia to one degree or another. But then autism itself is the inability to read social situations. And everything is a social situation.
Everything.
Everything. You can't tell me, unless maybe, interactions between autistic people aren't. But they are too. It's just in a more basic, fundamental way. But if you can't see that people are supporting you, you're going to feel abandoned. Mm-hmm. If you can't see that people like you, you're going to feel alone. If you can't see that people here's the thing, so often, and I guarantee you folks have seen this happen with your kids and loved ones on the spectrum. You try to help. You don't say anything, but you attempt to help them with something that they're doing, a task or whatever. And you get immediately rejected for your help. I can do this on my own. God knows you live with that quite often. And it's a bitter reaction. No, I can do this on my own. Leave me alone. I don't need any help. God knows I said that a lot. And there would be... See, they are not interpreting your help the way you intended. I now can understand when people are helping me from a good intention or a bad one. Because it's the emotions that surround it, it's the abruptness of their physical behaviors and their physical movements and other things.
There was a time this week that you were annoyed that I tried to help you with something.
Yeah, what was it?
I can't remember.
I don't either.
But it was during the time when you were about ready to get rid of your latest thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Me, I get really intense, broody and moody when I'm working on solving an emotional issue. It's always been that way for me. I think I'll be able to change that now.
Hi, baby.
And so, that being the case, I remember that because I was sitting in there, you came in there, you said this, and you were like, well, I'm just trying to help, and you
I was
walked
trying
off.
to help.
You were, but you know me. When I get that
Yes.
way, I don't see it too.
Well, Jasmine is laughing at us.
Yes. So, Jasmine says, I call situations like that lessons from the universe. Yes, exactly. And so, but when you can't interpret, when you can't see that people are trying to help you, when they do help, you think it's interfering, and you automatically think, oh, well, you don't think I'm competent.
Well, it's probably some of these beliefs, like.
Well, that's the whole point here.
So we're going to go back through these beliefs if you want to check them off. I feel rejected. I'm limiting myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being betrayed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being critical of myself. I'm not being heard. I'm a victim. I'm feeling abandoned. And I'm not emotionally available. And then Mark added, I'm feeling wrong.
Something is fundamentally wrong with who I am.
Yeah.
And
those probably everyone needs to work on those. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm letting you know that it's a huge problem for someone getting well from autism.
Mm-hmm. And she's seen this not just in me. It's not like I'm the only example of an autistic person that she's seen all of these beliefs in. She's had many, many music students on the spectrum and seen all of these behaviors at play in their interactions with her. So she has plenty of experience to back this up. And as she said, most people deal with this stuff, with these beliefs, in one way or another. But autistic people deal with it very severely because they take them so literally. And I did.
Then the question becomes, how many people in the population are actually autistic and don't know it?
There you go.
But we won't go there tonight.
Nope.
It has been 1 hour and 6 minutes.
Yes. So we're going to sign off because we laid the heavy on you guys. And you guys will need a couple weeks to process. We'll be back before then. And so you know, our regularly scheduled programming will be on Friday nights.
Yes.
Maybe 9 o'clock, maybe 8. It all depends.
We'll let you know. Mm-hmm. And also, in our group, we plan on doing a room so that people can talk to us. So people who belong to our group, we will be posting soon when that can happen. Yep. It'll be after Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. We will talk to you guys later, and and right here, and we will do this again next Friday. Mm-hmm. So, guys, until next Friday. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.